Hey, John. Hey, everyone. Great. We just got kicked off here. We'll wait for a few people to stream in. We already have 14 guests coming in. And my name is Adeo Resi. I'm CEO of the Founder Institute. We're doing our first Founder Angels webinar today. I see my team is configuring stuff over my shoulders. Normally we have a admin panel and a presenter panel, but because we have so many founders here and the system only supports 6, we're all using the same computer today. But anyway, so this is our first Founder Angels webinar. We'll plan to have them every few weeks with different regions of the world. We'll be focusing today on companies from North America. We have 5 companies with us. The way it's going to work is we have a few dozen mentors who have registered to watch and potentially invest in the companies now. This webinar will also be available offline so that the couple hundred mentors that are interested in Founder Angels can watch this at any time. For the people that are live, you're going to have the opportunity to ask questions in the chat, and then I'll relay them to the founders on screen, and you'll get your questions answered in real time by the founders. So again, you'll see on the right, there's a little chat area. Ask your questions in the chat. I will relay them to the founders when they're done. So without further ado, let's jump right into the companies. Again, we have 5 companies from North America that you can see their pretty faces on screen. We're technically missing one. She's rebooting her computer. We're going to start off, however, and she's actually calling me, so I don't know if that's good or bad. Maybe because she's needs some help, but I'm not going to be able to help her because I'm on screen with you guys. The first company we're going to go to today is Khalil with Hixo. He's going to have 3 minutes to tell us about his business. Then, as you guys have questions, please ask them in the chat, and I will relay them to be answered live on screen. So you ready to go? I'm ready to time.
Yep. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go straight to the deck.
Great. I'll tell you when you're...
You're going to see it now, so there's no surprise. Okay. So let me just put that on the screen. Yeah, do you guys hear me? Can everyone see my screen?
Okay. You guys hear me. I see thumbs up, but I no longer see Khalil's screen. You can see it? Huh. Okay. Khalil, you want to get started?
Sure. Perfect. All right.
Great.
So hi, everyone. My name is Khalil. I'm the founder and CEO of Hixo. And we bring group boxing classes in your living room through a live streaming service and motion sensors on your wrist. We're basically Peloton Cycle for boxing. Peloton is a $1.5 billion company. They're the next big company in fitness. And their differentiator is that they allow everyone to connect with some of the best exclusive spinning instructors in the world. And they have a smart bike where they track the performance in real time of everyone who takes the class and ranks them on a live leaderboard. So as they have their bike that tracks everyone in real time, 3 years ago, we started developing what is today the best technological product in all of combat sports. It recognizes the type of punches that you throw. It calculates the speed of your punches. And it also identifies 12 other movements such as burpees, squats, jumping jacks, push-ups that are all commonly found in high-intensity interval training. Now, this product was first developed for the Canadian Olympic team, and today we have multiple Olympic teams using it. We have UFC champions using it. We have renowned boxers, and most importantly, we actually have The Blade using it as well, who ordered a unit about a few months ago. And these guys are not the only ones. So to this day, we shipped more than 4,800 units, and we made more than $600,000 in revenues. And since we started shipping in early February, our sales are growing at an 86% monthly growth rate, and we broke even last month in April. We're now ready to go target a $10 billion industry, which is the at-home fitness market. And we're doing it with the workout that is the fastest growing workout in North America, which is fitness boxing. Now, if you look at the 2015 fastest growing franchise, you'll see that 2 out of the top 10 of all industries combined are boxing and kickboxing fitness franchise. Now, I am a former boxer myself, and I have a master in microelectromechanical sensors from the University of Toronto. 2 of my co-founders designed the most efficient electric vehicle in the world, and they still own the record for it today. We have one co-founder who's a 2 times national USA boxing champion, and he went to Babson for entrepreneurship. And our machine learning guy was actually running predictive models with a journalist from ESPN, and he may or may not still do it for betting purposes. And we all went through 500 startups in Y Combinator. So as a summary, we made more than $600,000 in revenue. We're growing 86% monthly. We're targeting a $10 billion industry. And one last thing, we're already in discussion with the UFC and the WBC to use our devices in real time during the live fights and create a next-gen statistics for all fighting and sell it to the betting community. So I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Great. Thank you so much. Well done. While we wait, if you have questions for people in the audience, you can, which are going to be mentors and potential advisors and investors, please type them in the chat to the right and I'll ask them. So obviously, Dragana brings up right away, she didn't see and hear everything. You did cut out a couple times at a key moment, Khalil. One of them was the segue from the cycle to the boxing arena, but I think people could catch up. So maybe while we wait for them to ask questions, do you want to provide us any color on the fundraising progress that you're made to date and are doing right now, which wasn't in the deck?
Yeah, absolutely. So we opened the round last Thursday for demo day at 500 startups. And we have the first 500K already circled. And we're raising a total of 1.5 million. This is at an 8 mil cap. This is going to be under a safe. Simple agreement for future equity. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty good movement so far. First 500K definitely went faster than expected. So that's where we're at. We're looking for added value investors, obviously. We want to take this through the next 18 months. We want to hire 2 back-end engineers, 1 designer.
Yeah, so I was about to ask you what the use of proceeds were. So, generally speaking, I like to say, like, what are your business milestones first? And then if you want to get a little more detail with the hiring, that's fine. But so you said 18 months, get some additional engineers, but what are your business milestones that you want to achieve?
Yeah. So basically this is a 3-phase project, and really we're replicating the execution model from Peloton. So the first phase was actually building the technology. And that has been completed. And you basically make money at each phase. So we started selling, and that actually made us profitable. The second phase of the project is getting the workout integrated with the technology in a way that you get the retention that you want. So it may sound very simple to have just the technology in the workout, but the technology can be just superficial, or it can actually be core to the workout itself. And this is when you get the most traction. For example, instead of having rounds based only on minutes, which is typically how it happens, you can start having rounds based on the number of punches that you have to throw, right? And now the technology becomes core to it. So getting that format right will take us about 6 months.
Sure.
And we're doing that with the UFC gyms of this world and the few partnerships that we have. And then the next 12 months, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, keep going. And I want to be conscious of time here because there's some other questions that are coming in. It's a little hard to see. If you do have questions, please pop them in the chat. But there are other questions. So you say the next 12 months, and then Kevin has a question.
Yeah, so the next 12 months, basically after you start getting the program right, then you start the live stream of these classes. And this is where you offer the live stream directly from home. And it comes with a package. So it will come with a jump rope, a pair of Hixel sensors, and then people can tune in and their score will be live on the dashboard when everyone is actually working out, whether it is at the location or outside the location. And this is where you start getting into the customer acquisition and the retention of the people at home. So you start with the gym during phase 2, and then for phase 3, you start the live stream to allow people from home to subscribe to your service.
Okay. And do you think you're going to get to phase 3 with this current round, or at least the beginning of phase 3? Is that why you mentioned it? Okay. Kevin was asking, how do you use Hixo to integrate with local gyms over time? Or how do you see Hixo integrating with local gyms over time?
So how do we integrate with gyms? We actually don't want to focus on that. The goal is really not to try to get into as many gyms as we want. We want to use just a few different type of workouts with the pilot gyms that we have to define what is actually the most sticky one. So phase 2 with the gyms is basically only getting the concept right. Selling through gyms, the big challenge with that is that you don't control the experience, and you're not going to be able to say to all the trainers of all the gyms, this is the way you should train people. So we only want to explore that with them, not leave money on the table for sure, but we don't want to push to try to get into as many gyms as possible.
Okay, there's another question from Rich. He was asking, what's your exit strategy? And again, don't be shy. If you have questions, ask them in the chat. The other thing that I would say, if you're interested in learning more about Hixo or any of the other companies that are coming up, you can, we'll be sending out follow-up contact information, or you can email grads@fi.co, grads@fi.co, and we'll put you in touch with them. So what's your exit strategy, Khalil? Or how do you see, I know it's a little early for you, but let's say, thinking down the line, have you thought about?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually refused our first acquisition offer last week. Basically, Peloton is probably one of the, main target that would benefit from that right away. Rumor has it that Peloton is working on a smart treadmill. And we spoke with some of the investors, and they're basically trying to bring more aspects of their live feedback so they can access more training and basically take fitness completely online. And they basically started with a bike, and now they're moving to a treadmill. So the transition for them is slow to get to body weights movements like the one we do. So that's one option. The other options is everything that is either in sports or gaming, because what's happening right now is that we keep having more and more movements into our database. And it used to take us about 3 months to acquire one movement and identify it correctly. Now it takes us only a week. And we have like a proprietary machine learning structure to do that. So as we keep putting that database and we keep adding movements to our technology, we want to at some point open that API and allow anyone to develop with our sensors on board. So that becomes almost like a Nintendo of fitness, if you want. So anybody who has...
There are questions coming in a little faster here, so I want to make sure we get to them all. So maybe if you can answer them a little quicker, and then we're going to move on to Kangaroo Health. How do you protect your business model from copycats? What's unique about your product and data set? So I guess you started to answer that with your proprietary algorithms, but if you can elaborate a little further, that would be great.
Yeah, so what happens is like is centered about recognizing the movement. So it's a little bit different than, most startups that you will see do motion tracking. Is only, okay, I have a sensor on my wrist here, I do this movement, and then it tracks the movement in that direction. Motion recognition is the next level of intelligence. Is when you know that someone is saying bye-bye, or someone is doing a burpee and a jumping jack, right? So the power of that recognition is what makes the protection of the algorithms actually worth, basically the barrier to entry. The second thing is that everything will be around, so the workout will be centered on this score that we came up with. And that score will be a proprietary metric that we basically have calculated over the different, trials that we had. So, if you do a certain amount of movements, that will give you X points. That system is ours. And now that everyone is going to start going around that score, then you're the only one that actually knows how it's calculated and how it makes sense. And you create that network effect around that data.
So, okay, if you were to, we got to move on because I want to give everyone a good, amount of time to present. So if you were to leave the investors on the call and the investors that watch later with, closing thoughts, what is the takeaway for Hixo that you want these investors to have?
Yeah. I think it comes down to the core need. The whole population is working out more. Everyone is more aware that exercise is important, but fitness is an activity that sucks in itself. Nobody likes working out. And this is about to change. And we saw already that with CrossFit, and Peloton is bringing this technology effect into it. But when you gamify fitness, you get closer to a sport and a game, you create cult. And that's where we're going.
Okay, well, that's great. Well done. All right. So let's go on to our next company from the North American region. Certainly one of my favorites, Kangaroo Health. How are you doing?
Hi, pretty good.
Great. Do you want to switch over to your screen?
Sure.
Presentation screen. I'm going to make you big on. If you roll over the person and you hit maximize, that will allow them to go full, and you can hit it again to minimize. It's probably going to take you a minute. Oh, that was pretty quick.
You hear me okay?
I can see your presentation. So when you start talking, I'll start timing.
Can you hear me okay right now?
I can hear you great.
Okay. So
you might want to, by the way, just for all the presenters here, you might want to just speak a little slower.
Okay.
Because there are people from all around the world listening in. Their connection may not be as good as mine or yours. So
Sure.
Speaking a little slower is good. Okay, go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Xiaoshu Kang, founder CEO of Kangaroo Health. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and this is my second startup company. I hold a PhD from Johns Hopkins School of Medicine and used to work with Department of Defense Research. So Kangaroo Health is the future of post-surgery care. And here's the question. Do you know anyone who has done orthopedic surgery? I'm sure you are. So there are more than 10 million orthopedic surgeries in the United States in 2015 that represents a $100 billion spent on post-surgery care. A recent policy change is disrupting this $100 billion market. Before, hospitals only need to care for the patients inside the hospital, but now they need to care for the patients in addition to the hospital care the 90 days after surgery discharge. But hospitals and clinics and surgeons are not prepared to do so. So that's where Kangaroo Health comes in. We develop a digital therapeutic platform to convert the clinical care into a comprehensive digital post-surgery care at patients' homes. So through our mobile apps, we start to train patients and after their surgery at their own comfortable homes. And we use the built-in camera in patients' smart devices, such as their smartphone, to measure and capture patients' key recovery data. For example, we are able to capture their incision site, and we're able to capture their movement data. And we relate those analytics and information move it related back to the physicians and therapists inside the hospitals. So they have a fully transparent view on the patient population recovery progress without any additional overhead. So we're on the phase 2 in our go-to-market plan. In phase 1, we piloted with innovative centers, demonstrating our system improving patient recovery outcomes. And now we're working with national hospitals. Specifically, we're working with Kaiser Permanente, one of the largest integrated healthcare systems in this nation. Kaiser has over 38 centers, and they have over 80,000 patients just for hip and knee replacement surgery. So we have a very outstanding team. All of our tech team are serial technologists who have startup experience and who have led successful prayer companies to successful exits. And we, besides Founder Institute, we also gone through Village Capital and Stanford StartX program. So we are raising $750,000 and including half of $500K already committed with several leading venture firms in the Bay Area. And we plan to use this money to grow our patient user in both orthopedic physician groups and large hospitals to grow the number of users in our platforms. And also, we're going to use that money to expand platforms from the current focus, which is a knee replacement surgery, to including the top 5 orthopedic surgeries. So this is Congress House, and please contact us to say hello to Better Care. Thank you very much.
Well done, well done, well done.
Thank you.
Now, we've got a couple dozen investors in the room and mentors. If you guys have questions, again, please ask them in the chat. You know, the first thing that I noticed in your presentation, thank you for switching back to yourself there. You know, you focused on this policy change that led to the hospitals having to do the 90-day of care after they release a patient. But in fact, you're doing a lot more than that as well, right? And I don't know if that was clear from the presentation. Maybe you could talk about some of the other market segments that you're helping and focusing on.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, what we presented is only one of the immediate focus. But as you can see, our platforms can actually apply to large patient populations beyond this the joint replacement orthopedic surgery. So we're aiming to expand the platform to cover like general orthopedic surgeries. And also, as we work with these major hospitals, they also request to use our platforms to target their patients with long-term care needs, such as stroke patients, Parkinson patients. Basically, the system core capability is the capability of training the patients at home and measure and using optical computer vision technology to measure patients' key performance. So it can be applied for hand surgery, for spine surgery, basically general surgery, post-surgery care can be used in combination with our platform. So we're able to convert and reduce the prior clinical experience into a home experience and significantly reduce the care cost.
So let's Steve has a question. I just want to remind everyone, I love to hear you talk, but if you talk too much, I can't get the questions from the people in the audience on. So try and, keep the answers tight. Steve was asking, do you have any clinical data on the effectiveness of the methods of trying it at home? And then I have another question if there are other questions from the chat. So clinical effectiveness?
Sure. So we have done a clinical study with University of Maryland Medical Center. It's a third-party independent clinical study. They took our systems and applied it with senior patients and compare with the current intervention inside in the hospital, and showed our system actually provide better patient outcome improvement compared to the current care recovery. So, and of course, that's a bonus for us because when they said
better, Can you quantify that a little bit? I mean, obviously, if it's a clinical study, they had some metrics.
Right. So the way they do is that there are established clinical metrics where clinicians use to measure patients' functional outcome recovery degree at the before and after the intervention. And that's what they did before and after intervention with Kangaroo Health and without Kangaroo Health. They measure the patient's outcomes using those clinical metrics. It's called Fugl-Meyer scores. And so they show that patients have showed more mobility and functional outcome improvement with statistical significance compared to the traditional study. So we're also working with Kaiser Permanente, and the goal is that we're able to work with them on larger patient populations to show that effect.
Okay, good. I thought you were going to go on a tangent and over answer because I have another question for you. Now, you mentioned cost savings, and that this is a big, obvious value add. Now, my understanding is there's cost savings in a few different ways, and maybe you can briefly elaborate on them. There's cost savings in terms of just not having someone come into a facility, right, which is expensive because of the therapist and everything else. But there are other kinds of cost savings as well. So if you can elaborate, that would be excellent.
Sure. There are several ways, briefly. So number one, before hospital used to send physical therapists to the patient's home for home visits. And using our platform, we reduced original 10 to 12 visits down to like 1 or 2. So that's one. And number two, before patients need to come back to the clinics for 12 to 20 outpatient visits. And we reduce that visit significantly too with our platform. And number three is that patients also will go to ER and emergency room or go back to the hospital for readmissions due to like poor pain management. So with our platform, because it's responsive, connected patients with therapists and surgeons, so we are able to reduce ER visits and readmissions fees.
Great. So you're talking, if you were to say 5 or 6 times the cost savings per patient, is that roughly accurate based on what you said?
So right now we are still trying to we are able to reduce in our cost side is actually we can minimize it to only a small percentage of the original cost. But of course that go back to our pricing to the hospital and clinics. That's not what we directly propose to them. But our cost is less than 20-30% of the current cost in the current care flow.
Okay. And I guess my last question for you, and by the way, if anyone has questions about Kangaroo Health and their ability, and I can tell you, so I crushed this hand right here. I guess you can kind of see it's a little messed up. And I had to go to physical therapy for a year. And, driving half an hour and then driving half an hour back plus the hour or so in physical therapy was not great. And so if I could have done some of that at home, I can also tell you just as a customer, I would have been a lot happier. So my last question for you is you talked a little bit about your pipeline in the pipeline slide, and in your fundraising slide, you showed the different clients that you're hoping to bring on, and you had a dollar amount next to them. What is your average revenue per customer, or how does that revenue look? And then we'll move on to our next presenter, which is Rever. So if you can answer that last question. If you want to cue everything you need, Rever, to get going, that would be great. So so you want to talk about the revenue per customer a minute?
Sure. So per patient, we charge we don't charge anything to the patients. We charge to the clinics or the hospital. So for the 90-day engagement, right now our current pricing with one hospital is $1,500 per patient. But that's charging to the hospital, and compared to the $10,000 they're paying for their each patient, that's still a significant cost saving to them. So that then the revenue from a clinic and a hospital that depends on the number of patients enrolled in the platform freedom.
Do you have a rough estimate of how many patients you hope to get with a customer?
So with the funding we're raising, we're hoping to get 900 customers, 900 patients, users, in addition to on our platform.
Okay, well, very well done. Excellent job, Kangaroo Health. So now we're moving on. We've had an interesting thing. We had a hardware fitness, again, sort of health, more targeted on recovery. And now we're moving into B2B, talking all about frontline innovation, which is I've been amazed by the stories you tell. Are you ready to switch to your presentation?
Sure, I'll share my screen right now.
Okay, so I'll tell you when your screen goes live so that you can start talking to everyone. It's close. It's close. Okay.
I'm back.
Let's welcome Rever to the webinar, talking about their frontline innovation platform. You can start when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready. So there you go. Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Eric Dunn. I'm the guy there on the very left. I come actually from the industrial world, working at Toyota, Airbus, Eurocopter. I made my transition into the startup world, working at Reich, and now with Rever. And these are my co-founders. This is a mix of very interesting experiences in both tech startups and established companies. And what we're doing right now is actually helping companies achieve breakthrough results, but by empowering all the employees to tackle small challenges every single day. What most companies try to do when they try to do breakthrough results is what I call the innovation theater, meaning the familiar motions that we see big companies doing over and over again, that for trying to innovate without actually innovating, the grand announcements, hackathons, the innovation committee and such, and it doesn't always work. So what does work and what is working for our customers is establishing what we call a frontline innovation system, which is innovation done by everybody in the company, especially frontline employees, done everywhere, every time, with self-formed teams, in a very entrepreneurial environment, and a system that actually also improves itself through data. So just quick tour of what our system looks like. There's a mobile application that is also possible to be used on a tablet. There's also the web version, which actually connects the frontline employees, allows them to move on their own to actually run experiments on their own ideas for small improvements. And I'll give some examples of those in a moment. These are really small improvements that are at the start might seem very let's say with small impact, but actually they really add up. So small improvements in hacking a product together, or eliminating certain steps from a process, or eliminating waste in the materials. And this is just an example of one of our customers where they migrated from an old system they had, which was like a digital suggestion box. They used to have like 30 ideas per month. Now they have close to 250 ideas per month. And it's not just the volume of ideas submitted, but also the speed of implementation. Used to be 6 months for just 14% of the ideas. Now they implement close to 60% of the ideas within a week. And they already have quantified 5 million of savings generated in a single month. So that's the kind of impact that we're generating in companies right now. In terms of our traction, we actually started product development last year. And by the last semester, we were starting some initial proof of concepts and pilots with some very interesting customers, Philip Morris, Grupo Bimbo, Kio Networks. And some of those have already converted into actual paying customers with annual recurring revenue. I showed there how we actually landed those deals into deals that are like 26K, then grew it to 60K. Right now, we're negotiating that to deals that are about $250,000 ARR on a yearly basis. So we already see this trend and validation of how we land and expand on those companies. And we have a very interesting pipeline and a very interesting, let's say, challenge to solve. We have a lot of interest from these big companies. And our main bottleneck has been ourselves, our capacity to process those, namely the deployment side of things, really deploying this to hundreds and thousands of users. So our priorities are right now to make our deployment faster and more robust, hiring more people there. Certain improvements in the product so it's stickier and drives more engagement and retention. And also double down on our enterprise sales. Right now, our sales effort is a single person, and we need to provide some more support to really close and onboard all these deals, which is why we're raising right now $2 million. We already have a strong follow-on from our previous investors for $500,000 at least. And our business objectives is by the end of this year, we want to achieve 1 million ARR, and by the end of 2018, to be at 4 million ARR. And with this $2 million, we can really go very, very far. And this is not counting the revenue that we're generating. And our ultimate goal really is to mix human ingenuity and machine learning to help systematize and fuel front innovation. We were recently accepted into the AI X Prize for tackling this challenge, which is a 4-year-long challenge, which just validates how big this is and how serious we are about pursuing this. And without much more ado, I'm open to your questions.
Awesome. Well done, my friend. You went a little long, but we let it go anyway. We're not sticklers for time today. Usually we are. You told me, well, Steve has a question right away. Whoa, look at that. Even before Steve, just hop right in. Don't be shy with questions. Do companies implement an incentive systems to reward new idea generators? How do you get paid?
Okay, so how do I get paid? It's very simple. It's software as a service, and we sell yearly subscriptions to the companies paid up front. As simple as that. And then
but just to clarify, when you said the land and expand, you were like 15, 60, 250. That's your SaaS pricing increasing over time, correct?
Yeah, it's mostly just the account growing within those companies because these are large companies with tens of thousands of users. So typically they'll start with the first 1,000 users. And then when they see that a given factory is getting amazing results, and they expand it to the rest of the region. And then now we're doing multiple countries. So that's a typical trend that we're seeing.
Okay, so one factory or one group of people, boom, boom, boom. And then, well, how do you provide the incentives was the other part of the question.
So that is part of the Rever platform. We make it all a game. So the whole thing is, we make it fun. It's gamified. So there's a point system also for our users. Whenever they capture their own ideas and they move it forward in our workflow, they gain exponentially more and more points. So there's an internal reward and incentive system. And we're really, really interested on all of the behavioral science behind this. And we've proven also with our first customers that what really drives people more than the rewards, because the company can put actual real rewards.
Like a Starbucks gift card, right?
It's like gift cards and tickets to movie theater. But more than that, what drives people is the social recognition. Being recognized by their own peers that they are the rock stars there.
Yeah, so you told me a story, and I was stunned by this. The potato chip cleaning example. I mean, this was. I'm a firm believer in your company after this story, so I think you have to. At first, I would bake it into your deck, so to speak, but no pun intended with the potato chips. But yeah, please tell the story.
Okay, so quick example. So one of my customers, they make potato chips, big competitor of Frito-Lay, and they make the potato chips in these huge pools of oil where they're frying all the chips. And every now and then, every day or every other day, they had to empty the oil, fill it up with water, clean it up, empty the water, and fill it up with new fresh oil. And that whole changeover process took about 6 hours. And the cleaning guy and the maintenance guy come like with this idea of, hey, if we just, there's a nozzle where the water's coming out, and it's a 1/2-inch nozzle. What if we just change it to a 2-inch nozzle, and the water will come out faster and fill it up faster, and we'll reduce some of the time. Anyway, in our system, they capture the idea, and our system, what's interesting, it forces people to do a little experiment. So their experiment was to get a container of 100 liters. They fill it up with water with a small nozzle. It took them about 6 minutes. And then they did it again, but with a large nozzle, and it took them 25 seconds. And for me, it was amazing to see how they started doing the calculation. So, okay, if we do it then in the large pools, it will reduce actually 1 hour production, or actually increase 1 hour production for each of these pools. every day, and that 1 hour production generates X amount of tons of potato chips. Anyway, it translated for just one of those pools like $50K per month of additional revenue, just changing the little nozzle. And these guys were very smart. They actually created a plan to do like a sequence of cleaning up all of the different pools so that they wouldn't lose water pressure and so on. So that tiny idea that now implemented in 4 different factories has added up to more than $200,000 of additional revenue per month in a single stupid small idea.
So so some cleaning and maintenance guy got together and made the company $200,000 extra dollars a month. A lot of people are saying they love the story. I mean, I know I heard that story. I was like, that's really cool. Plus, I mean, I'm sure they don't want to sit around waiting for the water to go in the thing. Bigger nozzle, less time for them waiting around. They can get their job done, go back and have a coffee or whatever. Yeah. So no, it was really beautiful. Any other questions in the chat for Aaron? And the other thing that I'd like to say, so you were also telling me how, maybe you could talk about your average revenue per customer, but you're talking about these customers not being $10,000 a year, but more like hundreds of thousands as your slide. So what's your average revenue per customer that you were anticipating, let's say in 2018, when you're getting to $4 million a year in revenues?
Okay. By then, we really want to aim to be at an 120K average order value. That's what we're going to get. One of the things that we've seen as a pattern is that we typically land at, our first offering is $60,000 per year. And right now, since we're getting our first customers, we had to discount our store with smaller packages. But we really quickly see it expanding to 120K or 250K. So,
and how many people would the 120 and the 250,000, like how many frontline workers would that enable on your platform approximately? Because I know it's not 1-to-1, but
yeah. So
because you do tiered licensing, correct?
Yeah. So yes, it's tiered. So the first package is for 1,000 users, and the next package is for 10,000 users. And the way we position it to our customers is that don't even think about users. We'll just look at your needs and give you the pricing of whatever amount of users you're going to need, so you don't have to count per users. I mean, don't even think about it. Any other questions? Otherwise, I can develop in a few frequently asked questions that I typically get.
Yeah. I mean, so you've been out pitching, right? And given your extreme traction to date, which I would say is great, how have investors been responding to your offering so far? Because you're doing a true seed, right? And you said a big chunk of it committed from insiders, which is great.
Yeah. No, it's been pretty good. So I've been pitching actually to external investors for about a week and a half. Before I did
Not
so,
very long.
I went to my current investors, and so they committed at least $500,000. And I have 3 potential lead investors that want to take a big chunk or the totality of the remaining round. So it's been pretty good. But until the money's in the bank, it's still open.
So you think this will close quickly, given the interest that you've only been out there a week and a half? And so, but my question was like, what's been, so you're clearly attractive to the investors. Obviously, B2B revenue traction. This is great news. Duh. But what's the thing that they seem to glom on to the best or like the best when you pitch?
They like to see my customer stories and actually direct testimonials from my customers, because last year when I did my previous round and I used to tell this story of like, hey, it's possible that frontline employees can have amazing ideas and have huge impact. It was a bit of a fantasy for them. But now that they see that we're actually delivering on that promise and they see some real stories like the one I just told you, that has been the biggest click actually for understanding our value proposition.
All right, Jill, we're moving on to you. And then last but not least, Daylighted. Jill, do you want to switch over to your deck? Well done. Rever, everybody, Rever. That was pretty awesome. I'm excited to have these archived so that everyone can watch them as well. So, Jill, if you switch over to your presentation, it looks like that's happening right now. Great. I'll let you know when we see it, and then you can get started. And then after Jill, there's one more. Daylighted. Now, it could be me, but I don't see Jill's. Does anyone else see Jill's deck? No, okay. I see a black screen. So maybe in a moment. These things happen in webinars. This would not be the first time that we had the black screen while presenting. Maybe what we can do is, if it doesn't come up in a second, because I know she was having connectivity problems, we'll just go on to Daylighted. We'll give it one more shot here. Oh, there we go. Well, I see me, and now I see the stuff. Great.
Right.
Jill, you are live, so I'm ready to start. Yeah, I can hear you as well.
Okay, great. All right. My name is Jill Bork. I'm the CEO of RushTix. RushTix is a discovery marketplace for great events and the people who want to find them. Event producers can add their events to our site, and our members who pay a monthly subscription can book them. They pay a monthly flat fee, and they can book events using points. We have a messenger app, or rather bot, which won the Watson bot competition. It's very simple because there's no app to download, and our members can search and click and book right away. It also serves up recommendations based on their preferences. So we're very interested in moving more into AI and machine learning. Here's the problem. Event discovery is broken. 40% of tickets go unsold because there's no easy way to offer flexible pricing. And it's a huge opportunity. Live entertainment is growing rapidly because many people, especially millennials, value experiences over things. And here's our results so far. In our first market of San Francisco, we have 5,500 monthly active users. We have 200 paying members with a 64,000 ARR. As I mentioned, we recently won the IBM Watson bot competition in 2 categories, best natural language understanding and most useful. We have an extremely enthusiastic membership. We consistently get high net promoter scores and just a very devoted member base. Here's a look at the competitive landscape. As you can see, there's a lot of companies that are trying to solve this problem of discovery, but no one's cracked it quite yet, but we will. As far as our unit economics, we have a lifetime value of $380, a customer acquisition cost of $51, and our gross margins are 45%. Our team, as myself, I'm a veteran producer. I am very familiar with the pain point that event producers have when they have unsold inventory. Tickets are like airline seats or hotel rooms. They go expired worthless, so it's a big problem. My co-founder is Johnny Hayes, who founded the largest event site in the Bay Area called FunSheep, and we have a great team. We're raising $300,000 for growing our membership base and expanding into 3 cities. Basically, we're just going to 10x our membership to 2,000 members, which will be 1 million in ARR. So that's our next phase. So again, I'm Jill Bork, CEO of RushTix.
Great, you ended on time, which is good. So we got one more after you, Daylighted, who's on deck. Anyone have questions for Jill, please prep them. I will start, however, to give everyone in the audience time. So you mentioned expanding into 3 cities. If you can switch to your face now from the screen, that would be great. Do you, can you let us know what cities you're anticipating to launch in after the Bay Area?
Sorry, as I was switching, I didn't hear your entire question.
The next 2 cities after the Bay Area.
So we'll be going into Los Angeles and New York City, as well as Seattle.
Oh, wow. So 3, yeah. Okay. So when you said 3 cities, it was not including, I get Los Angeles and I get New York, you know, probably the live event capitals of the world. But out of curiosity, why Seattle?
So we did a research study. We actually worked with some MBAs at a university, and we did So basically, the metric is population to number of arts and culture that's offered in that city. So if the ratio is a certain level, it sort of makes sense. So that's how we're basing our rollout.
Great. There's a question from Rahman asking about the customer acquisition cost at $51. Seems a little high. Have you plans to reduce it or concepts on how you might be able to reduce it?
Yes, absolutely. So that's a blended rate. We are finding that the Messenger, the Facebook Messenger bot is getting the best customer acquisition cost. We're actually able to acquire customers at $19 on that platform. So we will weight it towards the ones that are most economical. But in the beginning, we've just done a bunch of testing, and that's what we found at this moment. But as time goes on, we'll find efficiencies of scale.
Right. As other questions come in, I've got another. You listed a bunch of competitors. When you started out, you were definitely one of the first, if not the first people doing subscription events, almost like the Netflix of events, but then some others came out with it. You didn't go in too much. Like, do you consider your product better or worse? What are some of the differences that set you apart in more detail from the other people working in the event space, even the subscription event space?
Right. Well, of those competitors, the only one that's actually doing a subscription version is Jukely, and
Okay.
Jukely is just concerts. So what we actually have members that do both, and what they generally say is that we're just a better option because we have way more events and way more variety. So that's sort of our differentiator from Jukely. The other competitors are more in just the straight ticket sales. So what's sort of unique about us is that we don't discount a event producer's brand by selling a discount ticket. Members come into our system and they use their points, which adds a lot of loyalty as well because they accrue points by, actually doing activities as well. So they can earn.
They subscribe for the points. And DK has a question, so I want to make sure I answer investor questions rather than ask my own questions. And DK was asking, what's your unique IP to keep the copycats and these other competitors that we were talking about away from your model?
Right, well, that's a great question. So we are very, we focus on tracking all the data and what users are interested in, clicking on, booking. So we're actually developing predictive booking models. So basically, we can actually at this point tell an event producer where they should price their ticket based on the interactions that our users are having on the site. We actually think that's the future of where ticketing is going to go. So that right now people are playing guessing games about where their ticket price should be. But as we go forward and we get more data and we add this machine learning in, we can actually do predictive ticket pricing.
Now, well, so let me ask you a question about that, because wouldn't that obviate your subscription model because my guess is ticket pricing is a price elasticity of demand issue. So if a venue or a organizer got the pricing right, they would always sell out, or maybe close to selling out. I don't know. You tell me. You would know better than I do. But then wouldn't you then have no inventory to do the subscriptions with?
No, because actually we use a points model, but it's based underlying on pricing. So and what our points model does is allows for flexible pricing, which we call discovery pricing. So it's very difficult for the event producer to raise and lower their prices. But our platform, it's very simple. It's very fluid. An event, if it's more popular, the points value may go up. If it's less popular, the points will go down. But the event provider still gets paid based on those points values. So it's a way that we're...
So you're sort of obfuscating the price elasticity changes that you're in experiments, if you will, by doing points versus dollars. And you can buy the points with the subscription, but also earn them, as you said, through other activities. Is that correct?
Correct. We're basically gamifying the process.
Excellent. So, I want to give you an opportunity. If anyone else has questions for Jill, otherwise we're going to move on to our next and last one, Daylighted. But Jill, to wrap up, for the investors that are out there, and I think with everyone else, it was super clear. Is there any like closing thought you want to leave people with? Say, hey, join our round and this will expect us to do this or something like that beyond the 3 cities and the 2,000 subscribers, if you will?
Yeah, this is a great time to get involved because we're just on the point of that upswing in our trending with our user base. We've figured out a lot of tough issues about how to acquire and retain our users, and so this is kind of the fun part where it's on the upswing. So we're already sort of proven, have a track record, and we're ready to grow.
Excellent. Yeah, and I do agree that the future is in live events. So, Alex, last but not least, from Daylighted, good to see you, sir. Do you want to put your presentation on screen so we can see what you're up to?
Do you hear me well?
I hear you great.
Perfect. So let's move on the screen. So yeah, I agree. The future is through.
I'll let you know when your screen goes live. It's looking close. All right. Oh my God, there's a banana head.
There is a banana head. Yeah, and it's going to move to something different.
Banana head. Oh, look at that. All right.
Look at that. Yeah.
Are you ready? Yeah, we're ready.
Well, if everybody hears well, yeah, let's go. So yeah, my name is Alex, and I'm the co-founder of Daylighted. We created a smart gallery. As you can see here, it's a digital canvas that rotates artwork. And we believe that art should be just like music, easy to access, to discover, and to experience. And just like music, art needs its digital revolution. We believe that in the future, art will be consumed digitally via a subscription, because the new and the less new generation, they don't need to own anymore. They want experiences. They want discovery. We want unlimited access to curated content. And to do that, the model in the art industry has to change and embrace the digital revolution. And on the other end, there are so many new forms of art, digital art, like you can see here. It's Van Gogh painting being animated by an Italian artist, but there's so much more, like chrono art, morpho art, cinemagraph, etc. And all of those are stuck on YouTube. And the only way to experience them and to enjoy them is the digital canvas. And that's what we created. A smart gallery, so it's a digital canvas that changes the way we discover, experience, and buy art. On the left, you can see 3 of them in a hotel in San Francisco, and on the right, in a living room. The smart gallery can be any screen that we transform into a digital canvas by simply plugging a dongle on the back of the screen. And then it rotates artworks from your favorite local artist, from a gallery in New York or in LA, or from a museum we don't have the time to visit. It is also connected to an app that lets you curate your exhibition, learn about the artworks, interact with the artist, ask questions, and even buy the pieces you love, the real print or the original. The model is very simple. We charge subscriptions to the venue. We don't manufacture hardware. We don't sell any hardware. We bootstrap and we come up with that amazing product. We install it in the best hotel chain in the US, at Marriott, at Intercontinental, at Hyatt, at Sofitel. But not only hotel, we also work with WeWork, with Silicon Valley Bank, with Doctor Waiting Room, with hospitals, and many others. We make about 10K monthly recurring revenue. But the last contract we signed with an entire hotel chain, which is about 100 hotels, will multiply that monthly revenue by 5. We have about 15,000 artworks on the platform and won 2 awards as the best new product of the year in 2016. The market is obviously huge. The consumer market only is a $30 billion market, and the corporate market is another $20 billion just in the US. We approach corporate first because each installation in these high foot traffic places is a place where people can experience the smart gallery, discover the product, learn about the service. And to give you an example, at WeWork, in only 1 month, with 1 screen and 1 app on the tablet, we had more than 500 different sessions on the tablet. It's 45 artists contacted, and it's 93 requests about delighted product. So our goal is to have at least 100 qualified leads per month on those interactions to launch the B2C product. And so there's 4 people on the team right now. We have a head of curation, Betty Bigas, who works in many galleries in San Francisco, and Nicole Barros, who is our head of sales. And we have Geoffroy Martin, former CEO of Art.com, and Ali Merali, a Starwood and Marriott director in the team. And so we're raising $1 million. Half of it is already committed and in bank. And the goal is to install at least 1,000 screens in the B2B to have enough traction B2C and launch our B2C product. So my name is Alex, and I was delighted with trying to make art more accessible. Thank you.
That's great. Well done. All right. So if anyone has questions again for Alex, please pop them in the chat. You know, lovely stuff there. I like the animations as well. How many venues have your stuff right now, approximately? Because I saw a list of things, but how
Sorry,
many?
I couldn't hear anything until I switched the
Okay.
camera.
How many screens are out, and how many venues have your screens today?
We have about 25 venues installed and about 80 screens installed.
Great. And you had mentioned you want to get to the 1,000. Is that screens or venues?
At the 1,000, it's screens. We want 1,000 screens in the next 18 months. So we just signed a contract with a hotel chain where we're going to install at least 2 screens per hotel, and it's 100 hotel. So we are already shipped for the 7 first.
All right. So wait, 2 screens per hotel, and it has 100 physical hotels. So that would be 200 more screens. Is that right? John has a question. People don't want physical art to be backlit. What's the state of tech like e-ink or for art that's nice to look at? And I have some comments on that too. But what are your thoughts there?
Well, there's many thoughts. First is, I'm not sure people don't want physical art to be backlit. We've done a lot of exhibition where there is a mix of physical art and screen, and people really, really like the screen experience because the fact that it's backlit makes it more attracting. So we have a lot of great feedbacks on that. Then, yes, e-ink is definitely the way to go, not only for the experience, the quality of the image, but also for the energy consumptions. But right now, the technology is not ready to be as big as we need and to be affordable.
When you say as big, you mean physical size, right?
Physical size, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And do they have good color e-ink yet, or no?
It's not ready yet. There's a few small version, but it's
it's still relatively small scale, right? And you would need like canvas size stuff to. But I mean that will eventually come as well. You know, what's interesting is I went to the Pratt gallery down here. I don't know if you had the opportunity to see that yourself, and it was all digital displays of art. And a lot of it were screens, and it was some of the most beautiful things that I have ever seen. And I guess you showed some of that with the animated Van Goghs, but are you also putting some of that cutting edge digital art out on the platform as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that's what makes it really exciting because that's completely new. And there is so many forms of those art, like morph art or chrono art, where you can imagine blue shape that moves slowly in the morning and then red shape that moves faster in the evening. It's not a clock, but indirectly it tells you what time is it right in your living room. And that's, I mean, the limit is the creativity of the artist, and it's limitless. We have generative art, so we're building a studio where artists can create data-generated art. So they'll plug into your CRM or your Twitter account and get those data and create art lives. So there's so many things we can do. And so we're building those tools to, 1, create it, and 2, experience it.
Oh, so you're helping the creators upload and make their art available. Okay, lots of questions are coming in now. So I've seen some similar products. This is from DK. What steps or what stops copycats from taking your model or competing with you? And then there's another question, so be quick if you could.
Yeah. There's a lot of competitors right now. The competitors are mostly addressing a B2C market, and so they're building a hardware, which we think it's not the best idea, because the hardware companies, Samsung, Sony, will obviously launch a digital canvas at some point. So the key is on the service and the content, and so we're specializing in that. So we have a very aggressive strategy on the content strategy to work with museum, gallery, and artists and acquire a huge portfolio of curated work. And then the other thing is the key in that market is the evangelization. Right now, it's very hard to convince people that art on a screen will be sexy in your living room. And the best way to do it is to show it. When people see it, they love it. And so our strategy to go B2B first is exclusively to show the product, evangelize, put our brand in people's head, and be the first on the market, and when the market will be, the B2C market will be more warmed up and ready, be the number one.
Dragana was asking, well, I have to have my own TV, so what are you offering above my own screensaver rotating photos? So, you know, that's an interesting one.
Well, it's not photos. It's not photo from the Google employee. We'll connect you with the local art community. And so let's say there is an art exhibition in your city, or there is a new exhibition or an art fair. We'll connect with those community and show work in your living room to inspire you and say, maybe this weekend you want to go to that exhibition. So it's not just images, it's contextualized images that we'll provide you.
Right. So it's better in some ways than your own photos, which you kind of don't necessarily need to see because you were there. So any other questions for Alex? So, I mean, it seems like, how would you, while we see if anyone else has a question, is the same kind of the question that I asked for Jill. In closing, if you were to say something for the mentors, advisors, investors on the call that you want to leave them with, what would be your closing statement?
Well, we also, the other industry moving digital, the music, the movie, the book, and now we all consume it very broadly. Art hasn't changed, and that's a very exciting time, because art can create enormous emotion to people, and it's fabulous. And playing in that industry and making art accessible for everyone, and real art, that's an exciting time and an exciting project. And so we'll invite you to be part of that project.
Great. Well, I'll put one in our office here at Founder Institute. We actually got some nice screens, and we have kind of boring stuff on them, so art would be better. I can tell you that from my own experience. So listen, this was lovely, everyone. We had a great group of investors attending. I want to thank everyone who dialed in. I want to thank everyone who will watch offline in the future. We've had a few hundred people interested in Founder Angels. Subset of those got on live, got some questions out. More will watch offline. And so what I recommend is for future batches, dial in live and make sure you get a chance to ask your questions, because these are some amazing founders building great companies, changing our lives in a lot of different ways, from bringing us to real-time events, helping us with recovery after surgery, making us more fit, innovating on the front line with big companies, and last but not least, beautifying our lives with lovely art streamed to your device or hotel or other facility. So really great group of interesting companies. We will be sending you follow-up email with all their names and contact information, so you can be in touch, and hopefully you join their rounds and help them grow. So thanks companies, thanks investors, thanks mentors. Have a lovely morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.